Well, an imposter in our midst.
You're going to want it. You won't be able to resist. You're going to want to know what it tastes like.
I do want to know what it tastes like.
Hi, this is Keaton Car 89 with another one of my bootleg figure reviews. This is for the Storm Collectibles bootleg of Street Fighter 2 Guile. So as you can see, this is an AliExpress bootleg. To me, it was delivered for £20. Again, it's the packaging copied from Storm Collectibles. Only this time, it actually has Capcom branding on the top of it, so that can't stay in future releases. The other figure I believe it was branded Capcom was the Zangief bootleg figure. So we'll get this thing out of its box and we'll have a look at it for review. Right, so here he is out of the box. We'll have a look firstly at the accessory pieces and then we'll move them out of the way. So we'll start with the stand pieces. As you can see, we have the fireball that Guile uses and the piece of plastic stand to make it higher or lower. So I'll move those out of the way quickly. Then we have these fist pieces when he's about to set up for the fireball. Now these aren't as brightly coloured as the Ken, but they do serve the same purpose in there, two-parted, and you can put them together. And the bonus is you've got two of them, so on both hands, fantastic. You could do a double Ryu, double Ken rising fireball or fire fist effect. Again, you can use these on any of your characters that do fit. Fantastic detailing on these. We'll have a look at the hands. We've got a hand specific for the comb, which I'll just show you here. It's basically a white piece of plastic that was just stuck in there. It wasn't held back, so if you weren't careful and you didn't know what you were looking for, you might actually end up throwing this away as just a piece of white plastic. It doesn't help, it's got a slight bend to it, it's not straight. So that is to look out for sure. You can see it does have some serration to come through the hair. And that one there. Nice detailing on the hands. So we'll move that one out of the way. Then we have a grab hand or open palm. Again, some nice detailing on the fingernails on that one. Bring us into shot. I'm looking at what I can see rather than looking through the viewfinder. Right. And then we have another kind of grabby hand. Another open hand, and some salute hands or flat palms, and the fists on the figure. Right, there are four heads obviously. We have the scowl face, we have a gritting teeth scowl face. There is some slight darkness around the eyes, but it's not as bad as it's made out to be. I think it's just to bring out the details really. It's forgivable. And there's some nice detail on the hair. So that's pretty good. And then we've got the angry shouty scowl. Again, not too bad details around the eyes for the dark. I think this is where Jada didn't do it, and the eyebrows and the eye detail was slightly lost. It looked soft. So I think this is done right. And then finally, of the extra heads, we've got the You Lose Game Over. Slightly bloody, with more darkness around the eyes, so a couple of black eyes for Guile. And a bloody mouth. And as you can see, there's detail in the hair, layered. And yeah, you can clearly see a couple of black eyes. He's been in a fight. Not done so well. So we'll move to the biggest piece. Now this one is slightly weighted, but a bit of keeping it upright is not that easy. Obviously the kick effect, which is a soft plastic. It came with a piece of polystyrene between it, holding it apart. So you can obviously pose Guile with his foot in the middle of it, which is quite nice. Nice coloration to it. So it's not just a flat white or a flat yellow, which is quite nice. So I'll move that out of the way and we'll come to the main figure. Now we'll start at the bottom of the figure, and this is where we start to have a little bit of a problem. The foot pegs on the figure are at an angle going in, so already we're at a disadvantage with stability, but we have a toe joint. Quite nice. It started out very stiff, but it's loosened up not too badly. This one on the far side is just a little bit looser, but it's okay. There is, because of the angle of the pin, very slight push forward, but there is an arch back onto the foot, which is quite nice. There is also rotation above the boot and a double leg, but because of the sculpt of the combat trousers, it doesn't go too high. It goes back about that far. Forward is pretty good. And out, it doesn't have drop down hips, so you're going to run into the same problems that we had with Ken, in that the center pin that goes into the torso will be pushed by how far you tilt the legs. So we'll go as far as we can there, and I think it can get to sort of that without pushing the torso out. This torso did hold a little bit more sturdy than the Ken. I've managed to fix the Ken figure now by using a little bit of heat and actually pushing it down a little bit further so the peg held better. So, you know, a little bit of work and you'll get it to do. Okay, so there's no thigh twist on the actual leg, but there is a pivot at the waist, so you can turn the leg, as you can see there. So there is a top of the leg tilt. So because of that fact, it makes the top of the legs look a little bit bulbous and a little bit pantaloon, but that's okay with this figure. It's a military, so you know the combat trousers are meant to be slightly loose, and on the Guile, I believe they are on other figures. As we have a look at the waist, you can see it's a very thin waist and a very thin hips, so you know it does look slightly misproportioned, but you know there are benefits to that with having combat trousers looking like that and not having it look too thick. I mean, Vega from Jada looks thicker than this, so you know if you have a problem and say you know he looks stocky, that's going to come in the shoulders. You'll see what I mean in a moment when we start putting this figure into poses. This actually helps, so bear that in mind. Now we'll have a look at the detail on the shirt. There is a tilt, but again, because I've been moving the legs, it will come apart, but it does snap down in position quite easily. But obviously you've got to just go slow, make sure that you know, you're aware it is a cheaper figure, and just take your time with it. Just press down onto the joints as much as you can, and it will be okay. The main problem I have with this figure is it needed a stand, because of the smallness of these feet compared to Ken and Zangief. It's a tipping option if it's not on a completely level surface. You've got to support this figure. So either that, or it's going to be hunched forward, because there's no back to this figure. He's got a very, very straight spine and almost no back to him. So, you know, the weight is here and it will tip backwards if you're not careful on these smaller feet. Now, there is a chest crunch and an ab crunch, so it can go down pretty far, you know. I mean, look at that. That's very good. Now, obviously, it's going to, with the sculpt, break, and you can clearly see the insides of the figure. But, you know, if that's what you're after, it will do it. You know, you can scrunch down into a squat pose and do that. And as long as you're hiding this back joint, it can go far back as well. You're going to break there at the sculpt line, but again, it's your figure. You do what you want. A metal chain on there, on the dog tags, plastic tags on there, and on the arms you can see there is a double elbow, but the bicep is just too big, as it should be, and it won't go further than that. But good sculpt on the arms, the tricep horseshoe, and the American flag, which is very good detailing. Good wrist pegs, so you can pose it very well. Now this is where it's going to start to benefit the figure by having that, you know, much thinner torso, because you can bring your arms quite far across with this. Yeah, there we go. So as you can see, almost completely folded arms if you want to on this figure. And the head doesn't go too far back. So as you can see there. But it's kind of a soft upper torso. Yeah, it's very squeezy on this figure, but you are going to get good posing out of it. So if there was any concerns about this being a bad figure, then I think at the moment, from just initial first few minutes with this is literally the first time I put it into any of these poses from the box, they hold very well. You know, and again, I will point out, this to me was a £20 figure. This is a bootleg, it's not official. It does exactly what you need it to do for a cheap, decent price. You can't get the original Guile by Storm Collectibles that this is based on. This is not based on Storm Arena, but I would figure it would fit into that size. So we'll just bring it down and we'll do some comparisons on this. Overall though, I think for £20, once again, this is a really great figure for the money. You're getting all those extra details, you're getting the 3 extra heads with it, you know, 4 effect pieces, a comb, you know, 6 hands, fists as well, dog tags, and all that for £20. An absolute steal. So let's pull him back a little bit. Again, I think he needs a stand, so we're going to have to be careful and hope he doesn't fall over. But I'll bring Ken in. And as you can see, there's a size difference there with these guys. If anything, Guile's almost coming out of shot. The top of his hair you can't see, but let's see what we get on that one. This guy obviously is going to outshine both of these. Zangief. I'll just bring the camera back slightly so you can see. There you go. Are they good figures for the money? Absolutely. It's just a shame I've got to sort of use one arm to hold Guile up. He does need a stand. But yes, I mean, look at what I've got. Look at what I've got here. 3 figures, and I paid so far about £65. £20 for Guile, £20 for Ken, £25 for Zangief, £65, 3 Street Fighter figures. That's far below the price of any one of these figures on their own from Storm Collectibles. So, am I going to complain? Absolutely not. So let's end the review there so I can sit Guile down. As I say, good decent crunch there, look. Hanging with his homies. So yeah, that's the review of Guile. £20, £25, AliExpress, depending on your seller. Free shipping to the UK where I'm based. But do I recommend it? Absolutely. It is another knockout win from the knockoff guys of China from AliExpress for the Storm Collectibles. I would heartily recommend it. This is a definite buy. Again, right, we're going to wrap it up. Thanks for watching. Please share, like and subscribe. There is another figure to follow this. It's actually Ryu, and we're going to be reviewing that very soon. Thanks for watching. Take care. See you in the next video.